Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. If you're watching this live, it's Friday. Well, in Spain anyway, it's Friday. It's 6 o'clock. It's not crackerjack. But so we've got a result, a verdict in the trial that we've been sort of loosely following. Julia Wandelt, the fake Madeleine McCann, or the Polish Madeleine McCann, the young woman who, despite being 2 years older than Madeleine McCann, insisted she was Madeleine McCann, didn't she? And she was charged along with her sidekick, Karen Spragg, a 60-odd-year-old woman who should have known better. They were both charged with stalking and harassment of the McCann family. And not only Kate and Jerry, but of course Madeleine's siblings too, the twins, Sean and Amelie. You know, she was, both of them were more Julia really than Karen, contacting them, messaging them, and even turned up at the McCann's doorstep there in Leicestershire, frightened Kate to death. And whatever you think of the McCanns, I think that must have been horrible and scary. Anyway, they were charged with stalking and harassment, and the verdict, surprisingly, in my opinion, to be honest, because I think they probably were guilty of stalking, or certainly Julia was. But she's not. She's innocent of stalking, but she's been found guilty of harassment. And Karen Spragg, who encouraged her in every way and went along with her, and apparently was the more aggressive one to Kate McCann and Jerry McCann, she's been cleared completely. She's completely innocent of stalking and harassment. I don't know what the McCanns will have made of that. I mean, the McCanns didn't want it to go to court. It was only because they started harassing Sean and Amelie that eventually they sort of went to the police and wanted to take it further. I think that was just a step too far, wasn't it, when they started harassing the siblings, messaging them and trying to upset them. Because whatever you think of Jerry and Kate, the siblings, the twins, Sean and Amelie, they're completely innocent. They were only 2 years old when it all happened. They were in that room with Madeleine, and it's just lucky that they weren't taken as well, if that's what happened. If Madeleine was snatched, lucky that all three of those children weren't snatched. Or it could have been any one of them. You know, that must cross their mind sometimes. Could have been Amelie. It could have been Sean. Or it could have been all three of them. Anyway, it wasn't. It was poor Madeleine. And Madeleine, of course, is the little girl lost, frozen in time, never been seen since. Conspiracy theories, rumours. Every theory in the world has been put forward as to what might have happened to Madeleine. She could have been trafficked. She could have been kidnapped, abducted by Christian B. It could have been Kate and Jerry knew something about what happened. Was it a terrible accident that they covered up? You know, there's all these different possibilities. And at the end of the day, nobody knows what the truth is. Nobody knows. And it's probably unlikely that we will ever find out, to be honest. Maybe one day, because there is an ongoing investigation, of course. So then along came Julia, saying that she was Madeleine. She had these memories and trying to claim that her DNA proved it was her. And anyway, the one thing I think that the trial has achieved, because it's been quite boring, hasn't it, really? Because it's all been about Julia and her saying that she's Madeleine, and Julia just doesn't want to be Julia, does she? She's just convinced, wants to be somebody else. She's convinced her parents are not her real parents. She's got a lot of mental health issues. And I think a lot of that has come out in the trial. So that's one good thing. And then it turns out that, in fact, when Julie was arrested earlier in the year, a DNA test was done. And the police say it was proved conclusively that she is not Madeleine McCann. But I think most of us sane thinking people knew that anyway. But Julia, I don't know where she's going to go with it all now. Is she going to try and pretend to be another missing person? Instead, has she accepted now finally that she is not Madeleine? And Karen Spragg, who should be ashamed of herself, because she has encouraged this girl. She's been found completely innocent, which really surprises me. But anyway, so I don't know, the McCanns have said they take no pleasure in the verdict. Well, I'm not surprised, because they probably would have wanted her to be found guilty of harassment and stalking, and Karen to be found guilty. But anyway, they're not. So Julia's been found guilty of harassment. I'm going to show you a video in a moment. Hi, Joanna. Yeah, I didn't get, this is the first message. If I show the comments on stage, that's your first message. You're the only one who's talking to me at the moment, but this has been a surprise live. I hadn't planned it. So yeah, but let me know what you think. Do you think this will be the end of it for Julia? Now, as far as the sentence is concerned, she's not been sentenced yet, but she'll probably get 6 months, around about 6 months. Well, she's already served 6 months, because she's been in custody since earlier this year. So she's likely not to serve any more time. She'll be released and packed off back to Poland, I suppose. And maybe, hopefully, she'll give up this ridiculous idea that she is Madeleine McCann. Anyway, let's have a look at what Sky News had to say about it in their summary of the trial. Martin Brunt, who's not my favourite reporter, but actually it's a good little video, to be fair. Good summary.
In her campaign to prove she was Madeleine McCann, Julia Wandelt appeared on a TV chat show in America.
You think if you're not Madeleine McCann, that you might be some other missing child?
I believe that I am Madeleine McCann.
Yeah. But before she believed that she was Madeleine McCann, she did believe she was 2 other missing children. And when those beliefs came to nothing, she settled on being Madeleine McCann. And since then, probably because Madeleine McCann is a more high-profile case, and she has had encouragement from people like Dr. Phil, really, as well, encouraging her. YouTubers encouraging her in her false beliefs, because they had no. Anyway, I've said that in other videos. I don't want to say it again. I feel like she's been completely used by social media people for clicks and views.
Yeah.
Julia Wandelt is Polish. She was born 3 years after Madeleine. She struggled with her mental health.
3 years after Madeleine. So, she's too old to be Madeleine. Just for, if you take everything else, that's a clue right there, isn't it? She's 3 years older than Madeleine.
Health. Yet she thought she could be Madeleine and pestered the missing girl.
She looks, I'm sorry, to me, she looks absolutely nothing like Madeleine. I know she's got that thing in her eye, but her lips, shape of her face, when you look at the McCann family, to me, when you look at, anyway, let me know what you think. I know some people think she does look a bit like her, but this is the McCann family. I don't see any resemblance between them and Julia, except for Amelie's hair. I think Amelie's hair is similar to Julia's hair. Oh, one of my dogs is having a nightmare. Can you hear it? Hello, are you okay? He's talking in his sleep. I don't see any resemblance, but anyway, some people say. Anyway, the DNA has proved it now, so it doesn't matter what the resemblance is. The DNA has proven that it is not. She is not Madeleine. Hi, Lily. Oh, thank you, Joanna. I'm glad you're listening to me. I don't often get listened to. Certainly not in my house.
Family to let her show them her proof. That included a blemish in her eye, like Madeleine's.
I also want to prove my eye's mark.
No, she has got that blemish, but it's not quite in the right place.
It's my right eye.
She was charged with stalking Madeleine's parents, Kate and Jerry, bombarding them with texts, emails and voice messages. In a letter to Kate, she addressed her as Mum and signed the letter Madeleine. A stranger, Karen Spragg, offered.
This woman is just unbelievable. I can't believe she's got away and been found innocent, because she's worse in a way, because, Julia has got these mental health issues. I mean, maybe Karen's got mental health issues as well, but, she's 61 years old. Encouraging her like that. Bad.
To help Wandelt. Together they travelled to Leicester and checked into a hotel. They turned up in the McCann's village.
Yeah, they went to the vigil, which is, hoping to see the McCanns, but when actually the McCanns weren't at that vigil.
And were caught on a neighbour's doorbell camera approaching the McCann's home. Then they confronted them with a voice recorder running. First, Kate McCann.
Only a minute. I understand you wanted to find your daughter. I do, but I don't think so. Sorry.
I thought you wanted to find your daughter. Apparently Karen was the more aggressive one of the two, because Julia, especially with Kate, it was like, oh, I could hear the pain in your voice and, mummy and all this sort of thing. Whereas Karen just seems angry with Kate, like a lot of us are, because they did leave those kids on their own. And, at the end of the day, they did that and it was wrong. And they didn't get any, well, I can't say they didn't get any comeback for it, because they lost their daughter because of it, or, if you believe their story. But, they were never charged with negligence for leaving 3 children under the age of 5 alone in a holiday apartment in a foreign country. And Karen apparently was quite angry about that.
I'm not lying, daughter. I'm not lying. Not my daughter.
So Karen's saying she is your daughter.
I'm not lying. Please, I have DNA. I'm going to the police and they'll sort it out.
So Kate says, go to the police then and they'll sort it out.
You're causing us a lot of distress.
A little later, they confronted Jerry McCann.
I need help. You are not Madeleine.
How do you know you're not DNA? How do you know you're not DNA? She's not my daughter.
We don't want this. Please do not answer us. And please leave the premises. Look, I don't know what your investment is.
Listen.
No, don't listen. We're not having a discussion
You haven't
about
DNA with that.
Madeleine was nearly 4 when she vanished 18 years ago.
There.
She's become the world's most famous missing child.
She is.
It was Portugal, 2007. She'd been left sleeping in a holiday apartment with her younger twin siblings. In court, Julia Wandelt said she grew up suspecting her Polish parents were not her real mum and dad. She claimed she was abused by an elderly relative, a man her father told her had once kidnapped someone.
Yeah, so apparently Julie was abused by this elderly or older relative, and apparently, because I don't know what her parents make of all this, but apparently her father had told Julia that this man that abused Julia had once kidnapped a child. And so Julia, in the end, was saying, wasn't she, that if the DNA proved she wasn't Madeleine McCann, then she must have been held with Madeleine, because she knew so much about Madeleine that if she wasn't actually Madeleine McCann, she must have been kidnapped around the same time and held with her, and that's why she's got these memories.
She began to believe she was an abducted missing child, and she searched the internet. She said she stumbled across the Madeleine case. She thought she resembled an age-progressed image of Madeleine. One of the suspects looked like her abuser, she said. It fueled her belief she could be Madeleine.
I mean, you know, these are the suspects up at the top there.
She said. It fueled her
Because
belief
one of them looks
she
just
could
like
be
Jerry,
Madeleine.
doesn't he?
A detective from Scotland Yard's Madeleine squad phoned Wandelt and told her she wasn't the missing girl.
We are happy and satisfied that you are not Madeleine McCann. You are one of many hundreds of people, I'm going to say hundreds, who think they are Madeleine.
The jury was told that when Wandelt was arrested, a DNA test proved she wasn't Madeleine. The trial shone a light on what the prosecutor called the vitriol that some people pour on the McCanns.
The family said the prosecutor had much empathy from around the world, but they suffered the cruelest of taunts from those with their own inexplicable motives. Wandelt and Spragg, he said, belonged to a group who perpetuated conspiracy theories which heaped more misery on the McCanns.
That hatred appears to stem from the fact.
Now, I've mentioned it a couple of times when we've been talking about this, but I don't know if you remember Martin Brunt, of course, was the reporter who doorstepped the poor lady Brenda, who had apparently tweeted that she thought the McCanns were guilty. And he doorstepped her, turned up at her house with a camera, and she was live on TV. And she then, a couple of days later, took her own life with the embarrassment of it. So, yeah, that's nice old Martin Brunt.
The fact that Madeleine vanished one night after she and her siblings were left sleeping alone. Her parents were having dinner nearby, making intermittent checks on the children. Karen Spragg, who was also charged with stalking, said she befriended Wandelt on social media. She simply agreed to help her. But in a police interview, Spragg showed her own feelings towards the McCanns. They went away, she said, and left their children alone and were dining. We would get arrested here. Many are asking why weren't they punished and the twins taken away from them.
No, that's true. A lot of people are asking that. But that doesn't mean to say you have the right to go and turn up at their house and start shouting things at them after all these years as well. You know, it's not right, is it? It's not right. It's odd behaviour. And encouraging Julia really to break the law, you know. So Julia is 24 and Karen is 61, and Karen has encouraged Julia to break the law. And it's really arguably because of Karen and people like Karen that Julia ended up being arrested. And the thing is, because Julia was a flight risk, because she doesn't live in the UK, she lives in Poland, she's been held in custody ever since she was arrested, whereas Karen was released on bail because, you know, she lives in Wales, I think. So, you know, really, a lot of the things that have happened to Julia, in my opinion, oh, this woman's fault, or partially this woman's fault. I mean, Julia's her own person. She makes her own decisions, but she's clearly not well mentally.
For many years, there have been people out there in the online environment, you know, known as the McCann haters, who, for whatever reason, have become fixated against the family, who have suffered the loss of their child. And no amount of reasoning, no amount of logic, no amount of trying to rationalize with those people ever seems to blunt, you know, their desire to go into the online space and just pour bile and spew bile all over anything this poor family does.
This was Julia Wandelt on TikTok with a song she wrote. It's called Just Let It Go. Advice she might finally have accepted, though when asked by the prosecutor whether she still believed she could be Madeleine, she answered, it's neither yes or no.
Don't give up your day job, Julia. Oh, sorry, you haven't got a job, have you? Because that's it. I don't know how she's been funding all this. To me, Julia, she is a big attention seeker, isn't she? You know, there she is on TikTok singing. Maybe she's hoping to become a famous singer or whatever. She'd do anything for attention. It's very sad. It is sad. You know, well, you could look on it as sad or narcissistic because she didn't care. You know, Julia doesn't care what she might have been doing to the McCanns or even to Sean and Amelie, you know, who sort of lost their sister before they were even old enough to really know her. And they've had to live with being the siblings of the most famous missing child ever. So that won't have been easy. But we saw as we've been going through this trial, they've done well in their lives. You know, Sean doing his swimming, maybe going to be in the Olympics, etc. And Amelie doing her thing. You know, they've done well. They've done well. So, you know, because it won't have been easy growing up in that shadow, will it? And of course, then when Julia's starting with her stuff would have been even more difficult. I'm just going to play that little video again because I think it's a good little summary of what's happened.
To prove she was Madeleine McCann, Julia Wandelt appeared on a TV chat show in America.
You think if you're not Madeleine McCann, that you might be some other missing child.
I believe that I am Madeleine McCann.
Yeah.
Julia Wandelt is Polish. She was born 3 years after Madeleine. She struggled with her mental health.
Yet she thought she could be Madeleine and pestered the missing girl's family to let her show them her proof. That included a blemish in her eye, like Madeleine's.
I also want to prove my eye's mark. It's my right eye.
She was charged with stalking Madeleine's parents, Kate and Jerry, bombarding them with texts, emails and voice messages. In a letter to Kate, she addressed her as Mum and signed the letter Madeleine. A stranger, Karen Spragg, offered to help Wandelt. Together they travelled to Leicester and checked into a hotel. They turned up in the McCann's village and were caught on a neighbour's doorbell camera approaching the McCann's home. Then they confronted...
When I watched that video of them, it's like the witching hour, isn't it? And poor Kate didn't know what was just about to hit her.
...them with a voice recorder running. First, Kate McCann.
Oh, just a minute. I understand you. I do, but I don't need this. But I'm not lying. I'm not lying. Not my daughter. I'm going to call the police. Call the police. This is 5 o'clock. I'm not lying. Please, I have DNA. I'm going to the police and now sort it out. You're causing us a lot of distress.
A little later, they confronted Jerry McCann.
I need help. You are not Madeleine.
How do you know you're not DNA? How do you know you're not DNA?
We don't want this. Please do not afterwards. And please leave the premises. Look, I don't know what your investment is. No, don't listen. We're not having a discussion about it.
Madeleine was nearly 4 when she vanished 18 years ago. She's become the world's most famous missing child. It was Portugal, 2007. She'd been left sleeping in a holiday apartment with her younger twin siblings. In court, Julia Wandelt said she grew up suspecting her Polish with her younger
I mean,
twin
when you
siblings.
look at these, look at
In
them.
court,
They're
Julia
just
Wandelt said she
babies.
grew
Those two.
in court.
Oh, let me just get back to that. Sorry. Sean and Amelie, they're literally babies.
It was Portugal, 2007. She'd been left sleeping.
Literally babies and left alone with a 3-year-old sister. I mean, it is terrible.
In a holiday apartment with her younger twin siblings.
Imagine leaving them.
In court, Julia Wandelt said she grew up suspecting her Polish parents were not her real mum and dad. She claimed she was abused by an elderly relative, a man her father told her had once kidnapped someone. She began to believe she was an abducted missing child, and she searched the internet. She said she stumbled across the Madeleine case. She thought she resembled an age-progressed image of Madeleine. One of the suspects looked like her abuser, she said. It fueled her belief she could be Madeleine. A detective from Scotland Yard's Madeleine squad phoned Wandelt and told her she wasn't the missing girl.
We are happy and satisfied that you are not Madeleine McCann. You are one of many hundreds of people, I'm going to say hundreds, who think they are Madeleine.
The jury was told that when Wandelt was arrested, a DNA test proved she wasn't Madeleine. The trial shone a light on what the prosecutor called the vitriol that some people pour on the McCanns.
The family said the prosecutor had much empathy from around the world, but they suffered the cruelest of taunts from those with their own inexplicable motives. Wandelt and Spragg, he said, belonged to a group who perpetuated conspiracy theories which heaped more misery on the McCanns.
That hatred appears to stem from the fact that Madeleine vanished one night after she and her siblings were left sleeping alone. Her parents were having dinner nearby, making intermittent checks on the children. Karen Spragg, who was also charged with stalking, said she befriended Wandelt on social media. She simply agreed to help her. But in a police interview, Spragg showed her own feelings towards the McCanns. They went away, she said, and left their children alone and were dining. We would get arrested here. Many are asking why weren't they punished and the twins taken away from them.
For many years, there have been people out there in the online environment, known as the McCann haters, who for whatever reason have become fixated against the family, who have suffered the loss of their child. And no amount of reasoning, no amount of logic, no amount of trying to rationalize with those people ever seems to blunt, their desire to go into the online space and just pour bile and spew bile all over anything this poor family does.
This was Julia Wandelt on TikTok with a song she wrote. It's called Just Let It Go, advice she might finally have accepted. Though when asked by the prosecutor whether she still believed she could be Madeleine, she answered, it's neither yes or no. Martin.
Yeah, during the trial, she said she was 50-50. 50-50 as to whether she was Madeleine or not. So I don't know if that's changed. Will it have woken her up a little bit? So, hi, Michelle. Yeah, the whole thing. And, I was covering bits and pieces of the trial, but to be honest, it was just totally boring, really, wasn't it? It was all just about Julia saying she was Madeleine McCann and, I don't know, the police saying she wasn't. And, I just don't know. It's just, it's ridiculous, isn't it? It's never gets anywhere, does it, this case? It's like, over all these years, all the smoke and mirrors and sightings and possible suspects. So the latest thing was Christian B, wasn't it? And that's all gone quiet. He's been released from prison. I don't know. just that you run out of things to say really about it, because, you know, bottom line is they shouldn't have left the kids alone and gone off partying with their friends. But, you know, you can't turn back time. Can't turn back time. They did, and Madeleine disappeared. Then it's like, what happened to her? You know, we just will never know. And, you know, to me, the red flags, I mean, I don't know what happened, but I still think it's strange that after Madeleine had gone missing, been snatched, according to them, they still left their other two children in the kids' club. You know, instead of just keeping them with them, I'd be stuck to my kids like super glue if one of them had been snatched. Could you imagine? Oh, yeah, we'll leave them in the kids' club. Yeah, we've lost one child, but it doesn't matter. We've got two more. You know, you just can't. Why did they do that? Why did they put their kids in the kids' club? You know, I wouldn't have been able to be apart from them while they were sort of going jogging and continuing with their daily routine, or, you know, visiting the Pope, or going off to be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey and like celebrities. That's what feels strange to me. That is what feels really strange to me, those things that don't add up. Anyway, and they stuck around there, didn't they, in Portugal? Fair enough, because they were hoping that Madeleine be found. And then they were made Alguidos, and then they were off like a shot, weren't they? You know, I just don't know if they did anything to Madeleine or not, or maybe it was an accident and they covered it up. That seems the logical thing to me. Because then that would explain why they still left their kids in the kids' club, because they knew that Madeleine hadn't been abducted. But, you know, who knows? So, and do you know what? If that is the case, that's what happened, somebody said, I think, in the chat, I'm sure they've suffered like big time since, haven't they? They will have suffered, because I don't like to believe that they did anything deliberately to Madeleine. So if it was like a huge accident that they covered up because they had two other children to think of, you know, sort of, you can sort of understand it in a way, can't you? So, but they will have suffered for it, and they'll be suffering for it now. There probably isn't a day goes by that they don't, you know, wish that they hadn't left the children on their own there like that. But they still left their kids in the kids' club. I know it's not alone, but if you've had a child snatched, you're not going to leave your other children anywhere, are you, with strangers? Just not going to do it. So anyway, so I just thought I'd let you know what the result was, what the verdict was. So Julia is not guilty of stalking, which is probably the more serious offence, but she is guilty of harassment. So she's been found guilty of harassment. Whereas Karen by name, Karen by nature, she's been found innocent of everything. I really can't believe that. You know, that really surprises me. I didn't see much about her defence and that, but because I got bored. To be perfectly honest, got totally bored with this trial, because it should never have come to this. You know, it's just, anyway. But so she's scot-free. She's just going home. She never spent a day in prison anyway, did she? Because she was bailed. And Julia, because of the time she's already served, she's likely to be released when the sentencing happens and packed off back to Poland. And let's just hope that's the end of it for Julia. Or will she start thinking she's another missing child? Well, you know, I don't think that Julia will stop, because for Julia it's all about attention. So one way or another she'll be trying to get attention. Who knows who she'll say she is next. Because don't forget, she said she was those two other missing children first as well. So it's sad, you know. I hope, but I think people have tried to help her with her mental health, I think with someone like Julia, I think you're just wasting your time. You know, she's just going to do what she wants to do, isn't she? But people shouldn't encourage her. That, to me, is a no-no. People that encourage her, you know, delusions, that's a bad thing to do, in my opinion. Anyway, as always, I'm sure you'll let me know what you think in comments. Yeah, flying off to see the Pope. And of course, Jerry flew off to be interviewed by Oprah Winfrey. Like a celebrity. It was weird, wasn't it, when you think about it? Just completely weird. Why, you know, just like, I mean, it's different to be interviewed on local news things and that, 'cause you're trying to raise awareness for your missing child, but going off and talking to Oprah Winfrey, it's like, that's more of a celebrity thing to do, is it? Though I suppose you would get good coverage that way because, you know, she is the queen of the chat show. So I don't know, really. I just don't know. So makes your head hurt, the Madeleine McCann case, doesn't it? Gives you a headache because you go round in circles and you get nowhere, basically. Yeah, they left them, Joanna. They left them at the children's club. They continued to leave them at the children's club even after Madeleine had been abducted. So that, to me, is just don't. I don't understand why they left the kids in the first place. And I've been there. I've been to that place, and it is not like just having your dinner in the garden. It's quite a long walk, you know, it's 5-10 minute walk, but it's not a straightforward walk. Those apartments are outside that complex. They're not part of the complex. You know, that's always the impression that's given when you see photos of it, but they're not. They're separate from the complex. There's a big wall around it, then there's another road. You have to go sort of up the main road, turn the corner before you get to the apartment. So you just would not, you know, the only, you know, you could see, they make it sound as if, you know, the apartment was right there, you know, right next to the restaurant where they could practically see, you know, into it. But it wasn't. It was nowhere near it, miles away. Anyway. Okay, I'm off. So thank you for watching. Thank you for caring about Madeleine. I think we all care about Madeleine, don't we? I doubt very much that we'll ever get to find out what happened to her. I doubt very much that she is still with us on this planet, which is, when I went there, I went to the church, lit a candle for her, lit a candle for some of my family members that I've lost, and lit a candle for Madeleine. And that church is there and it all looks exactly the same. I believe Kate goes back there, doesn't she, on a regular basis, or at least once a year, because Madeleine is there. So, you know, that's how I felt, that you know, you can feel Madeleine all around there. It's quite a weird feeling, but who knows what the truth is. Okay, have a great weekend if I don't see you over the weekend, and until I see you again, as always, take care of yourself, look after you, because you are the most important person. And until I see you again, may your God, as always, go with you. Bye.